In this interview series, Rick Stiggins, founder and president of the Assessment Training Institute and Classroom Assessment Authority, promotes the effective use of formative assessment to support student learning success. He does so by answering a series of 11 questions posed to him by the Alberta Assessment Consortium. How can teachers ensure positive assessment impacts for all students, especially our most vulnerable students?
And of course, we've established that given the new mission of schools of wanting to produce competent lifelong learners, or the expanded mission, those vulnerable learners are the ones. How do we in fact reduce dropout rates? How do we get to universal high school graduation? Those are critical questions. In order to answer them, I want to go into a little bit more depth into this issue of the emotional dynamics of assessment from the student's point of view. And I want to read to you two paragraphs written by a psychologist at Stanford by the name of Bandura that describe a concept called self-efficacy. That is, a person's sense of control over their own academic well-being. And what I'm going to read to you are two paragraphs that mark the ends of a continuum. And that kind of a human characteristic. It goes directly to the matter of how we ensure, how we help the most vulnerable of our learners. The first paragraph is this: a strong sense of efficacy enhances student accomplishment and personal well-being in many ways. People with high assurance in their capabilities approach difficult tasks as challenges to be mastered rather than threats to be avoided. Such an efficacious outlook fosters intrinsic interest and deep engrossment in activities. They set for themselves challenging goals and maintain a strong commitment to them. They heighten and sustain their efforts in the face of failure. They quickly recover their sense of efficacy after failures or setbacks. The sentence is critical. They attribute failure to insufficient effort or deficient knowledge and skills which are acquirable. They approach threatening situations with the assurance that they can exercise control over them. Such an efficacious outlook produces human accomplishments, reduces stress, and lowers vulnerability. What parent doesn't want that for their children? And the consistent application of principles of assessment for learning are what produce this. Not changes in annual test scores. It doesn't mean the test scores are unimportant. It means that if what we want to do is maximize student learning, it's this end of the continuum that we must aspire to for our munchkins. And in contrast, let me read to you the description of the other end of the continuum. In contrast, people who doubt their capabilities shy away from difficult tasks, which they view as personal threats. They have low aspirations and weak commitments to the goals they choose to pursue. When faced with difficult tasks, they dwell on their personal deficiencies, on the obstacles they will encounter, and all kinds of adverse outcomes rather than concentrating on how to perform successfully. They slacken their effort and give up quickly in the face of difficulties. They are slow to recover their sense of efficacy following failure or setbacks. And now the critical sentence again. Because they view performance as deficient aptitude, it does not require much failure for them to lose faith in their capabilities. We know how to move students consistently in the direction of the positive end of that continuum. We need to set them up for success, get them on winning streaks, and keep them there. We know how to do this. We do it by helping them know where we want them to be, where they are now, and how they can close the gap between the two. And that, it seems to me, is a foundational definition of lifelong learner. What parent wants their child to be at the bottom end of that continuum? No, we don't need to leave them there. those are the students who end up dropping out and finishing low in the rank order. We need to set them up for success too. That's what lifelong learners do. So I recommend to you that we think more deeply about how to help use assessment processes to help outstanding learners learn even more, and struggling learners find their faith in themselves, their sense of academic self-efficacy. That's how teachers can help the most vulnerable of our students.